Today on Kicked Up Chemistry with Professor Leonard, I'm going to show you a really simple way of performing dimensional analysis. Now, some people call it the factor label method, some call it unit cancellation, and it's really not that difficult if you follow some easy steps. So stay tuned, and I'm going to show you the easiest way I know of doing dimensional analysis. So dimensional analysis is just another way of saying that we want to convert from one type of unit to another type of unit. So this all goes back to mathematics. For instance, if we had 7 over 12 times 12 over 5. Before you ever go through and actually multiply this and figure out what the answer is, we can cancel out the 12s. Well, the reason that we can cancel out the 12s is because we could rewrite this equation as 7 over 5 times 12 over 12. Now, anything divided by itself is equal to 1. So this just cancels out, becomes 1, and then we have the property of 1. Anything times 1 is the same number, and it's simply our answer becomes 7 over 5. Now, if we wanted to convert that into a decimal equivalent, you simply take 7 divided by 5, and we would get 1.4. And typically we want our answers in the decimal form, so that way we can round for the proper number of significant digits. Now, instead of converting from simply fractions, say for instance that we wanted to convert 9.0 inches to feet. Well, here's our given information. I always say what you know times the line equals what you want to find. And the line represents our conversion factor. And we're trying to find feet. So feet go on the top because that's what we're trying to find. Inches go on the bottom because that's what we want to cancel. Hence, here is our label, and now we simply got to put in our factor. And we know that in 1 foot, there are 12 inches. Now, this is an exact number, so we don't have to worry about rounding for significant digits for our conversion factor. We're given 2 sig figs, so we want our answer to have 2 significant digits. So inches are on top, inches are on bottom. They cancel, so 9 divided by 12 is 3/4, which would round, or convert to, rather, 0.75 for the decimal equivalent. Well, what if instead of going from inches to feet, we wanted to go inches to centimeters? Well, we can take our same given information, 9.0 inches, put in our conversion factor, and convert that to centimeters. So inches would go on the bottom, and centimeters go on the top. Now, by definition, in 1 inch, there are 2.54 centimeters. So now we have inches on top, inches on the bottom. They cancel out. We get out our handy-dandy calculator, and we simply take 9 times 2.54, and we get 22.86 centimeters. So we have 2 sig figs. We want our answer to have 2 sig figs. There's the 2. Look at the digit after it. It's an 8, so we're going to round this up, and it becomes 23 centimeters. Well, what if we couldn't get to our final units in one step, and we need to do more than one step? Well, that's not a big deal. For instance, if we had 87 millimeters, and we wanted to convert that to kilometers. Well, in the metric system, we have all those base units. So the easiest thing to do is simply convert it to the base unit, which would be meters. So we want to put millimeters on the bottom, meters on the top. And then we can go from meters to kilometers. And we simply have to look up, well, how many millimeters are in 1 meter? Well, in 1 meter, there are 1,000 millimeters. In 1 kilometer, there are 1,000 meters. And so now let's check to make sure that we have everything set up correctly. We have millimeters on top, millimeters on bottom, they cancel. Meters on top, meters on the bottom, they cancel. So we're left with kilometers. So now again, taking our handy dandy calculator, we take 87 divided by 1,000, divided by 1,000 again. We can simply type them all in our calculator in one shot before we hit equals, or in my case, the enter button. And it spits it back out in scientific notation. So this e means exponent. So when you write it down, you're going to replace the e with times 10. And it becomes 8.7 times 10 to the minus 5. And the units would be kilometers. Now, what if we have a larger conversion? Well, what you want to do is simply convert to what you know to get closer and closer to your final answer that you're trying to get the proper units. So one that I always like to do is how many seconds are in 1 year? Well, in 1 year, we got to convert that into another unit. The easiest one is going to be to convert that into days. There are 365.25 days in 1 year, because again, we have a leap year. We had leap year this past year, and we would be off quite a bit if we're off by a quarter of a day every time we're going through this calculation. So I like to use 365.25 days. And then, well, what's closer to seconds then? Well, we can go from days to hours. There are 24 hours in 1 day. Now, if you know how many seconds are in a day, you could have done this in one more step. Incidentally, there are 86,400 seconds in a day. If you want to go directly from hours to seconds, we could use the conversion that there are 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. Now, if you didn't know that there are 3,600 seconds in an hour, you could go from 24 hours, 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute, and do it that way. Now, let's make sure that all of our units are canceling out. We have years on top, years on the bottom, so they cancel. Days on top, days on the bottom, they cancel. Hours on top, hours on the bottom, they cancel. The only thing that hasn't canceled are the seconds. So when you type this into your calculator, you simply put 1 times 365.25 times 24 times 3,600, hit equals, and we end up with 31,557,600 seconds is equal to 1 year. Now, a quirky thing about the metric system is they don't put a comma every 3 digits. Now, we could, because this is the unit of time is both an English unit and a metric unit, so it's fine for that. But a comma in the metric system represents a decimal point. And so if you've ever accidentally put 2 decimal points in your calculator, it gives you an error message. That's would happen if you were strictly using the metric system, because the comma represents a decimal point. Now, you have to be careful when you have square measurements or cubic measurements, because we have length times width in order to get the squared. We have length times width times height in order to get a cubic measurement. So say you were measuring for carpeting, and you measured your room, and your room was 8 feet by 11 feet, which then gives us 88 square feet. But when you go to the carpet store, they're not going to sell the carpeting by the square foot. They're going to be selling it by the square yard. And so we have to convert square feet into square yards. Now, there are 3 feet in a yard, but it is 3 feet by 3 feet. So there are 9 square feet in 1 square yard. Now, let's check to make sure that our units cancel out. Well, in this case, if you notice, I don't. I have my conversion upside down, because I have square feet on top, square feet on top. That would give me feet to the 4th power divided by square yards. Well, I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to take my conversion factor and I'm going to flip it over and put yards on the top and square feet on the bottom. So now these square feet do cancel, and there are 9 square feet in 1 square yard, which gives me 9.777 repeating square yards. So that would round, because we're given 2 significant digits here. We're going to pretend that this is an exact number and that's an exact number. So that would give us 9.8 square yards. Now when you have a cubic measurement, say for instance we wanted to find out how many cubic feet are in a cubic yard. So things like topsoil, mulch, and concrete are sold by the cubic yard. Well, there are 3 feet in a yard by 3 feet by 3 feet. So that would give us then 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. There are 27 cubic feet in 1 cubic yard. And that is the simple way of understanding dimensional analysis. Well, I hope that helps you understand how to do dimensional analysis, whether it's converting from centimeters to inches or it's converting ounces into cups. You do it the exact same way. So I'd really like it though if you would click that like button, click the subscribe button. If your subscribe button is red, you're not subscribed to the channel, click it so it turns gray, and then we know that you are subscribed and you'll be getting updates whenever we have a new video on Kicked Up Chemistry with Professor Leonard. Thanks for watching.